Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
I've been the artist, the Black Country Blokes chewing the fat, here with me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman, and our special guest today, MP Dudley North, Marco Longhi. And what we're so lucky to have these people coming down, because I was just saying to Marco before we went on, we've got to be working together from grassroots or in the trenches to the higher ups, and it doesn't matter if we're blue, red, green, whatever the policy, the organisation, we've got to be doing this together. So, Marco, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's a real pleasure, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. Thank you, Lee.
And you're just saying, like, the short version, you were the mayor of Walsall, and how much fundraising and how difficult it is to pick a charity, because we normally pick one for the blind, for cancer. We normally go for someone how we've been affected, and you picked mental health, didn't you?
I did, yes. So first of all, if perhaps I could give some context
sorry.
to that, because my name is Marco, and you might think, well, isn't that Italian? Well, yes, it is. So my mother, who is a black country lass, went over on holiday to Rome, and she met this Italian guy at the Trevi Fountain, and I am the byproduct of that meeting. But I am a black country lad, and I've spent most of my time in Walsall, which, as you know, is just the other side of the motorway. And a little bit people who'll be saying Walsall isn't black country. I get that, but it's we all think the same and talk the same and behave the same, don't we? So yes, I became a councillor in Walsall back in 1999, and I only stood down at the last elections in May. When I was allowed to, actually. After I'd become a member of parliament, I did resign immediately, but the leader of the council, Mike Bird, asked me to stay on so as that I didn't cause a by-election, because that can cause, 40,000 pounds of a cost to the council. He says, Marco, stay on till May, and then you stand down then, and then we'll have 2 elections in Pelsall, which is the ward I represented, instead of one. But what then happened was coronavirus hit the country, and the government cancelled elections. So I actually stayed on as a councillor until this last May, and juggled the two. But I've got able colleagues in Pelsall who picked up and ran with the baton for me whilst I've been in Westminster, or locked up at home like everybody else has been. So yeah, during my previous years, just before the MP election, I was immensely privileged and lucky to be told, well, Marco, you've been a councillor a while now, you've been round the block, it's your turn to be the mayor of Walsall. And I did that, and I did it for a couple of years, actually. And one of the things that people don't know is that quite often mayors get asked, would you like to support a charity? And of course the vast majority say yes, and then you're confronted with the question, well, which charity? And when you think about it, actually, every single charity is deserving. So I'd like to support all of them. But then I thought, Marco, you're about making a difference. You're about having an impact. You're about doing something actually that you will do better if you really, really care about it. And I just kept coming back to the fact that I just felt that, back in 2017 especially, we still weren't quite talking about mental health like we are now. And I thought, right, I'm going to go for mental health. And if I don't raise that much because people maybe don't like to talk about it or engage with it, fine. But I'll still work as hard as I possibly can to do it. And I asked my wife if she wanted to be part of it, and she said yes, which I'm immensely grateful to her for this. Her name is Andrea.
Hello.
And she threw herself into it as well. So some mayors can actually dedicate themselves 100% to something, or just whatever they choose to do, So I basically accepted every single engagement. It was 24/7. It literally was. But I never missed an opportunity to fundraise for this little charity I found in Walsall, which was for Walsall people. And it was all about mental health. And yeah, I ended up over the 2 years raising well over £160,000, which broke all possible records. And for a charity whose turnover was 240,000, you can imagine the difference it made. And it's one of probably my most proud moments, I guess, that I know all of the people I've not been able to meet that I know will benefit by what Andrea and I together were managed to do. We cut waiting lists. They were going to have to, unfortunately, because of the money that wasn't coming through one of the spending streams to support the charity, they were going to let go of a youth worker actually that was visiting schools, and with the money that I was bringing in, we managed to keep that person going.
Because it's all right having the establishments, but we need the good people in the system. That we need that good worker, because I think that's sometimes what we have people on a crisis number. And we phone them, and if you're having a crisis in Stairbridge or Warheath, then you phone them and go, you've got to phone Stairbridge, instead of saying, well, I will transfer you to there. We need the people to, because once you're in a crisis, it's taken courage to phone up the person. But then all it says is, well, can you phone another number? And then you've lost your nerve. So we need to have a better understanding of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic we could talk for hours about, really. I mean, I've had my dark moments.
I've had buckets,
and that has helped me make my decision. I've seen the experiences that my two daughters, Monica and Daniela, went through the education system. As one's 18, one's 21 now, but when they turned 11, 12, 13, 14, went through the education system, it was different for me. I mean, I'm 54 now, and my idea of having fun or falling out with someone, if you and I fell out, we'd be best friends the next day after a kickabout with a football in a field. Whereas now, you're constantly on these things, aren't you? And you never know, particularly what a young person is up to at 2, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Who are they talking to from whatever part of the world? Are they being bullied online? So all of this stuff young people are having to contend with. And at the same time, because technology has changed so much, their curriculum has changed so much. So what we learned, well, me in particular, because I'm obviously older than the pair of you here, was different and at a different pace. So the pressures they confronted are enormous, and what young people are having to face up to. So everybody suffers from periods in their lifetime when their mental health is less healthy.
Of course,
and we can be any age. I'm not wanting to say here that older people
are immune.
Absolutely not, because I went and have been through this experience. I had to go and see my GP, and he gave me a leg up for 6 months, and after that period of time, I was able to come through it, and I pulled through.
Yeah,
I'm quite happy to talk about this. This was a number of years ago, but what that actually means is that I know that I'm not alone, and people who put on that tough face, particularly blokes, women are far better than men at exchanging opinions and talking about problems. And a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? The old saying goes, and we just don't do that, or do it anywhere near as much as we should do. But I think things are changing a little bit now, and some of us blokes do start to talk about this a bit more. And one of the encouraging things for me is that young people have got absolutely no problem talking about issues they may have.
This is why it's so important to get people like yourselves on, and me and Kev doing this, because hopefully we're setting an example to other men out there, but also children. Like a big reason I do this is because I have 3 children, and I don't want them to suffer the way I did. So hopefully I have a son as well. So hopefully me opening up, he then sees actually it's fine.
It's okay.
You can open up to anyone you feel comfortable opening up to.
Absolutely. Your brain is another organ of your body just as much as any other organ is. So if you've you've broken your arm and you're going to hospital,
Yes.
everybody can see you're suffering because of that.
Mm.
People cannot see what's going on inside your head, so it's much more difficult to deal with. Hence why it's just so important to talk about it.
But because like that, I think like with a physical disability, if my arm's hanging off, it's so easier. But this is what I wanted to ask you about, like with the mental health triage teams, because I think there's one in this area, and I think it's brilliant because we've had very close friends recently, and the police officers who haven't been mentally health trained will attack it in a different manner. Whereas the triage team, you've got 3 bobbies to look after the nurse and the paramedic. And I think we've got one in the area, and I've heard rumours we're going to get rid of that. I'd like to see more of those.
Oh,
because
definitely.
instead
Yeah,
of getting rid of the one, have another 10 or another 5.
but it's you know it's across a range of public services. So I became, I don't know if you've heard of the Mental Health Foundation.
Yeah.
I became a trained up mental health advisor or practitioner. I don't know what you call them. I forget now. But all it does is really doesn't teach you to deal with somebody who's got problems, but it teaches you to recognize the symptoms.
Like a first aider, isn't it?
It's a first aider. That's it. That's what it's called. Mental health first aider. That's what it was.
I'm not here to sew your arm on. I'm here to stop you bleeding out until the ambulance comes. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you certainly, I wouldn't be professionally qualified to deal with someone who's having an episode, but what I could do is recognize it and take certain steps
Yes.
to help, and then perhaps help signpost them
Yes.
to the professionals. But you talked about triage, and I think this is a really, really important area. And I think the government, whatever colours,
Yes.
over the years, I've always looked at mental health, and it's not been an area of priority when you've looked at setting budgets in healthcare.
Yes.
It's always been in the very, very low percentages, 6, 7, 8%. And I think that more recently, governments have started to recognise it more. We talk about it in Parliament, and those budgets are going up.
Yes.
And it's really important because, for example, if you take people who end up in a cell overnight or in prison,
Yes.
it's quite often the same people. In
Yes.
fact, some policemen, some magistrates have talked to me about it being a revolving door.
Yes.
People go out, they go back in, they go out, and very often what is missed there is that actually people have actually got a mental health condition
Yes.
that's causing this. So I would like to see a realignment of budgets, whether it be triaging in NHS A&E departments or triaging to the CPS,
Yes.
the criminal justice systems, and with the police and everybody. So if we can address the mental health issue, actually we're saving police budgets, we're saving people from going into jail and
Yes.
costing the taxpayer so much more. We're saving people from actually perhaps occupying a bed overnight in a hospital, which isn't the right place for them because it's a
Yes.
mental health problem they have. It's not a
Yes.
physical condition. It's just there's so much, and I know that we're starting to grapple with, but it is complex. It is difficult, but they are starting to prioritise in that direction. And of course, I'll be one of many other MPs. I'm not
Yes,
alone
of
as a member of
course.
Parliament who
We've
thinks
got
this
to do
way.
it together, haven't we?
Yeah.
If we're all pulling in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think like what you're saying, the door, and I think of this with like the bushy fields, and I'm not asking you everything, I'm just a man I could talk to, but I thought like a bushy fields, if we could have like almost like camper vans or something for those people who aren't quite ready to go back into the real world, if we could have somewhere where they're almost there, because like with prison or establishments, you get institutionalized and you come out and the world scares you, and then you're back in. But if we could have that halfway house where you've still got Nurse Dillon and these places, I mean, would that be something that we could look into?
Absolutely. Mental health needs to be something that and I know we are starting to do this in a very different way. A few years ago, when I was mayor, actually, I initiated a scheme that was then sort of took over from professionals in Warsaw at the time. So I wanted to do something about the homeless.
Yes.
And I would go as far as saying that almost 100% of people who are homeless are people who have a mental health condition that's causing them to be there
Yes.
in the first place. So when you were trying to address homelessness, you could put the money and the effort in getting them, the bricks and mortar, the keys.
Yes.
You can even do some hand holding and understanding how to budget and handle things like that. But if you don't understand that, if you don't understand the mental health circumstances of that particular person,
Yeah.
then all they'll do is they'll walk away. And I've seen scenarios where they've literally walked away from a property that's been presented to them, literally on a plate, and everything sorted. And that's because they just couldn't cope with the idea of having to budget and pay bills and understand, even if they were like on welfare and a lot of things were getting paid for them, it's the whole thing was just too much for them. I've seen a scenario in which people were presented a property and they literally prefer to sleep in the garden.
Yeah.
So
Some way they felt safe, or what they preferred.
It's just that they just didn't feel that it was right for them.
Yes.
And obviously, it's your mental health disposition.
And that's the same with drugs and alcohol,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it is.
With mental health and what caused it. Was it the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
And I think if we could have a better look at it, why are you using drugs? Why are you? What are we trying to escape from? Instead of criminalising them, have an understanding of.
Comes back to your mental health.
Back to your mental health.
It does, yeah. So much actually comes back to that, doesn't it? So if we'd got a more joined up approach,
Yes.
when you say together, I think that's what you mean as well.
Yes, of course.
And started to dedicate much more resource in understanding the whys and why nots of behaviors and things like that, then I think we can start addressing the causes of the problems, as opposed to reacting to a problem, putting a sticking plaster on it, which hasn't dealt with the problem.
Well, we always say if we could get them at early doors, primary school. So why is Kevin aggressive? Why is Lee shy? Why is Marco crying? And go and get people to talk about the feelings. So instead of trying to get someone in their 30s already pretty much broken, if we could start helping them build themselves in a better manner by having like physical first aid courses. So if mommy's poorly, or mental health first aid, why are you upset? And I think if we get them at early doors, not to scare them, but to build empathy with our youngest.
Which is why I feel positive about young people today.
Yes.
The fact that they're much more open about things and talking about things, particularly the young ladies compared to the men, but even young boys and men are starting to talk about it much more openly, is so important. I feel positive because I think we've turned a bit of a corner.
Yes.
But there's so much more to do. So the more you guys are out there in the community helping people, and people like me, and more sort of helping setting policy in the right way, then I think is a good sign. And for men in particular, we keep banging on about men. The biggest killer in men below the age of 45 is suicide.
Well, I think the two biggest killers for
cancer,
men,
it's not car accidents, it's not any ill physical health of any kind of disease.
Yeah,
it's suicide. And that's
one thing we can change as
that's
well.
the pandemic we can change.
Exactly.
We can do something about that. It's but it is just getting men to open up more and talk more, and as I say, hopefully the next generation doesn't have it the same as the way we've had it. That
correct.
That man up culture is dying now.
But guys, I'm gonna have to cut it short because the school's downstairs now.
Right.
And so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna put you on the spot like I put all our guests on. Have any quotes or sayings that have helped you get through life?
Oh, crikey!
Everyone says this. So you're not special just because you're an MP. What's that?
Blimey, I'm not very good at coming up with quick answers like that. And I think just never give up.
Yeah.
Never give up. My grandfather was hugely influential on my mindset as a person, and he used to always say, Marco, never give up. If you want something, go after it. And he came from a very, very poor background when we lived in homes where the toilets was outside, no electricity and that kind of thing. Both parents died dead by the age of 10 or 11, and he was working down the pits at the age of 14, pretending to be 18, because obviously it would have been illegal, just to earn a crust.
Yes.
And throughout his life, I mean, I just adored him and I wanted to spend as much time as I could with him. He just had this approach to life, which is, you know, you can make life what you want to make it.
Yes.
And he encouraged me when I used to be down in the dumps, even at a young age, and saying, come on, there's always someone worse off than you, and never give up. Have you ever seen the picture of the stork swallowing a frog?
Yeah.
And the frog has got the stork by the neck, so it can't be swallowed. Yeah, that kind of scenario, you know. So even in my darkest moments, I just thought, come on, there's people who are worse off. I'll get through this.
Yes.
I've got people around me who love me. I know. I know not everybody understands my problems,
Yeah.
but you know, and I'd encourage people to actually do the mental health first aid course, because it's also taught me to be aware of my own triggers, my own things that might make me go, oh, I'm not really sure about that. So yeah, great. Thanks very much for having me.
No, thank you.
Thank you for
on.
coming on. Yeah.
So until we see each other next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.